Hey guys, it's John. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to be doing another Let's Talk About It. And it's all about time travel. But before I get to you guys the most question of this title, now if you guys ever seen the movie Back to the Future, and you always see how Marty and Doc always had to travel back in time, sometimes there's bad things going on to them, or even what happens in the present or the future, they always fix something to stop any type of bad things going to happen. But now, there's something different I want to tell you guys. It's called, why is it bad to alter the past, or specifically the timeline? Now, I will have to explain to you guys because there are only 5 shows that always explain why you shouldn't be touching the past or altering, because anything that happens can be bad. So, here are the 5 shows. First, we have is The Simpsons. This was one of the first ones I ever seen how it is in alternate timeline, because the only thing is, like, I remember watching The Simpsons since childhood, and that's like one thing I didn't even know is all about time travel, and that's how I seen it on the first part I've seen, and it was on the Treehouse of Horror episode, where when Homer and his family were enjoying some breakfast, but then out of nowhere his hand was in the toaster, and then he's trying to do is fix it, but then out of nowhere the toaster was going so insane he had to hold it. But then it was like he was in a timeline. He saw Mr. Peabody and Sherman, and then he went into 1 million years where the dinosaurs existed before they were extinguished. And even like one of the most things, like his dad had said to him, if you touch the past or any tiny bit, it can alter anything badly. And there were like a lot of things happen. First, when he touched one thing and came back, he thought everything was normal until Ned Flanders was invading. Like, so much was like out of control craziness. I mean, for Ned, he is religious and everything, but he was over pushing religion and safety. Then, he go back again, and he messed up again, and this time he went back, and then there was nobody there, but until like the whole house was opening the roof, but he was very small, and his kids were big, and he went back again, and then this time the whole house was very fancy and stuff. And then the one thing he's scared and went back, because where Marge doesn't even know what a donut is, because he's always be obsessed with it. And people always say, what is a donut? Donut is just a freaking pastry with a hole on it. And then when he came back, and then Willie just told him that he's not in his world yet, and then he went back into the dinosaur world to fix everything, and then he went back. It was everything normal, and then he said, close enough, because his family uses his tongues as lizards to eat food. So that was like a weird episode so far. So never touch that. Then we have this other show is Phineas and Ferb. Now, most of you guys really enjoyed it, because I've really enjoyed it since from elementary, and even after they finished it in 2015, and now they already made it last year. Now, here's another thing that what happened in one episode, but let's get back to before I get to the actual episode of Altering Past. If you don't know the episode called It's About Time, that's like where Phineas and Ferb went to the museum, and they discovered was this time machine that was invented in 1960. And it was like some type of Europeans or anything that think that it can exist to go to the future or in the past. But even like it wouldn't do that unless they started working and fixing stuff, and they were finding the one piece, and that's where the security guard gave them was that piece. And that's like where Phineas and Ferb, not just Phineas and Ferb, but then Candace joined them and went to 1 million years where the dinosaurs are. And even like they wrote a message to Isabella and her friends to build a time machine again, because the other one was broken. And that's like everything was back to normal. And even like they got back to back to the present, nothing changes. But here's another thing. Now, this is one that was something with Quantum. This is like where Phineas and Ferb went to the museum again with Isabella, and then they went to the future, how it is, and everything looks very good because, like, they did see was Candace as an adult. Let's just say she was, like, almost in her 40s, and she has a daughter and 2 sons that look comparing to, like, the age of teen Candace and Phineas and Ferb's age. And even they always have a good time, and then she didn't even notice that her brothers from the present were coming. And that's like one thing, is like she wanted to find out what's going on, and then like they just left, and then she, out of nowhere, some weird guy out of nowhere came and brought the machine, and then she wanted to do was bust them again, but this time going back to the very first episode, and it was the first summer where they build the coolest coaster. And that's where everything was messed up, because she made a mess up to bring the mom outside and see what it is, and even stopping the boys from doing the roller coasters and got in trouble. But they did not know is that when Perry was trying to get the helicopter to move the whole magnet and stuff, but then the helicopter just left, and then the whole metal thing just hit him, and then Doofenshmirtz avoided, and he said he's alive, and he took victory. And then when Candace went back to the time machine and went to her future, but her future did not be safe or anything. It was completely like undertaken by Doofenshmirtz, because he was the new leader. Because one of the most things that happened after Phineas and Ferb were being busted by building the coaster, the whole city says that is unsafe and not fun for all the kids, and they had to be locked in this robotic chamber, and once they grew up, they had to learn about responsibilities and stuff. And that's like one thing that Candace made the huge mistake of messing up timeline. And then the one thing she had to do is go back to the past again, and this time she has to stop her other self of controlling it. And then the reason why, because she did show what happened, that the roller coaster was pulling up, and that's the reason why. And even like she went to go see Phineas and Ferb again, and then since the bad Candace was no longer there, just poof, and then told her that the machine was destroyed, and they brought back again. But even like when Candace went to see and wanted to bring and see what's going on, and even saw how it is when it comes to the future. But even that's how the story ended, how their future would be. Now, the only thing, yes, you can't just do that. Then we have this other show. Now, you guys already seen it a lot of times, Family Guy. Now, this is just before Stewie and Brian travel on Stewie's time machine. I will get to that in just a moment. Now, if you don't know, in one of the episodes was called Meet the Quagmires. And this is like where Peter wanted to do is live up his own life back in the 80s or 90s to have a good time and everything, do it again. But the one thing he made a mistake was when he didn't meet Lois, he just enjoys partying and everything and being with all the classmates and stuff. And then when he went to his regular time, and one of the most things he messed up is just that he was married to somebody else. And then Lois is married to Quagmire. And then the kids were his because they have a different chin so far. And it was kind of stupid for him. And then the only thing to fix it was to summon Death again and go back to where it is. But even like doing some mistakes, and then Death says, no, we're not going to help it. And he's going to have to do is fix the situation and go to the prom, fix the relationship and understanding the truth. And now they are love again. So that's how it is on Meet the Quagmires. But it's different. Now, Stewie has a time machine that it was debuted on the episode called Road to Germany, when Mort accidentally took it because he thought it was the bathroom, and then decided to see all about his family in World War II. And that's like so much about the Nazis and stuff and all of history. But that's not how that part, because there are other episodes all about when Stewie and Brian alter the past. And this is about like when one episode was called Back to the Pilot. And this is like where Stewie and Brian travel back in time where they did the very first episode of Family Guy, January 31st, 1999. Because I was only 1 year old that time. But one of the most things you guys don't know is just like what happened in the very first episode of Family Guy. Well, here's a lot of things what happens. Like, we always seen like the Stewie who is so bad and everything, has so much bad weapons and stuff. And then we always have a different voice actress before Mila Kunis took over Meg's role. And one of the most things is like Peter used to work for the toy factory before his former boss, Mr. Weed, passed away due to like being choked by a dinner roll, and the whole toy factory was destroyed. Now, the only thing was he was fired because due to like his drinking and stuff, lying to Lois about the money and everything. And then he always told about his honest and everything, all about the situation of his welfare fraud and everything. And he was going to be sentenced for 24 months. And then Lois trying to talk the situation. And even like the judge says she goes to jail too. But then Stewie used like this weird device that can like control minds. And that's like the stuff that. And then after all that situation, he finally got his job back too. But due to like so much of his stupidity, that's gonna happen. Now here's a different one. This is like when Stewie and Brian sees everything going on. And even like when they see like why they are standing, because they were doing cutaways. And even the part like they were gonna leave back, but they didn't want to show anybody what they were doing because they wanted to go to their room. And then Stewie's old self sees him and then told about what happened. And they were going to head to their present, but out of nowhere, they were supposed to go there, but then they were still in 1999 because due to Stewie's return pad was running out of batteries. And because they didn't had no money, but they saw that the blimp was throwing money. So they got some money out and headed out, but then they saw like the blimp was going to fall to them. Went into the return pad, and they went into the courtroom. They did distract the Kool-Aid man, and after that, they finally got the batteries, and it was going to be okay until this happened. While they came back, Lois just told them about the statue for saving their country from the World Trade Center, and Brian just told his former self about 9/11, and that was so bad. And they saw about how he was a hero for stopping the hijack, and they thought everything was okay until the news said about 9 southern states are seceding from the United States. After Bush lost the election, he declared civil war, and then Brian just thought it was going to be a made up, but until 5 years later, he saw what had happened. The only thing they had to do is tell their former selves, their doubles, that they shouldn't be telling about the 9/11. But even after that, so many disasters and stuff, and then they brought more Stewies and Brians. And even like since ones who just came from the original, they just told them to stop, and they had to make a vote. How many of them vote 9/11? 42. And who votes yes 9/11? 57. And then Brian says, why is there total nod? One of the Brians died. But I don't think that can happen, that they die. But then Stewie just told everybody, get back to their time machines. Nobody touch anything. No Harry Potter novels. Don't step on a bug. Don't give earlier investment advice. Just go back to where you came from and stay there. And everybody did. And then what they did in the first place is they went the moment just before their doubles originally arrived. And they just stopped. And that's how it is. Now, it's just not just that. And I even seen only half parts of one of the other episodes just before Brian died from the accident, where they traveled back in time and gave the Indians, Native Americans or Indians, were guns, and they were controlling the whole US. And even they went back again, and they found was a time machine from one of the other Stewie versions, and they decided to get the guns back and stop all this situation. It even like Stewie just destroyed it, and even like on the Christmas special, he did save Brian from the crash ever since that. But if you guys didn't see the season 12 finale, like where Stewie was really tired of his family were a bunch of idiots who can't even be normal for so far. And even like he rebuilt his time machine, but more modern and more technology, because like because the original was gray and now it's purple with good cyber things. And the reason why he wants to alter the past because he wants to break up Lois and Peter. And after so many times, like he finally did it, and then he was fading. And one thing he woke up, like he was born in a different family, a British family. And he thought it was going to be good and stuff, but didn't really understand that he really misses his dumb family and everything. And the one thing he didn't know, there was a time machine at Oxford University, and got there and told the other Stewie about what's going on, and he did tell about everything. And even like since the British Stewie died from out of nowhere, like this big light. And even after that, now Stewie really understands. No matter how the situation with family is, everybody has to love their family. And then we have is My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. And this was from the season 5 finale. Now, if you guys don't remember what happened in the beginning of season 5, now this is all about Starlight Glimmer. Now, you guys already know about it. Now, this was just before everything about the reform and how she became the head mayor and got married with Sunburst. Now, if you don't know what happened, like since Twilight and her friends were being called, and that was their first friendship mission, and they traveled to this village. And one thing they didn't notice is like where everybody had the same cutie marks, and they're all equal and everything, and they were acting so crazy. But the one person who would not look exactly the same was Starlight Glimmer, because the one thing, she was hiding her cutie mark the whole time, her actual cutie mark. And she was hiding everybody's cutie mark in a cave because she didn't want them to be around. And that's why when then she escaped, but then she try and get revenge on Twilight. And she was Stars Will the Bearded's spells to go back in time. And the only thing that she's trying to do is stop the sonic rain boom. Now, if you guys don't remember on the first season about like where Twilight and her friends told the Cutie Mark Crusaders how they got their cutie marks, about how Applejack always think like she was going to live in Manhattan. She was feeling homesick, but then knew that the rainbow is showing her where she belongs because she really loves to be in Ponyville. And then Fluttershy about like how she become good with animals. And then about Rarity become a fashionista after like a big boulder gave a lot of gems. That's how she is very good as a fashionista. And then Twilight about how she used her magic, and after she passed the test, the entrance exam to the school for gifted unicorns, and then even hatched Spike on a dragon egg. And then how Pinkie Pie been so smiled and wanted to show her family with happiness and fun. And finally, that's where Rainbow Dash got her cutie mark after the sonic rain boom and everything. And that's where everything goes on, because Starlight was trying to stop that. And that's like where she stopped Rainbow Dash from doing the sonic rain boom. And that's like where Fluttershy was doing good with the animals, but the animals ran away from her. Pinkie felt so depressed and feels like she has a lot to learn. And then Applejack felt so homesick and she doesn't see anything. She just closed the curtain and felt depressed. And then for Rarity, for seeing this big boulder, she just throwed it out down the hill and feel like she's not very good at it. And finally for Twilight, even like she failed, she fell into the entrance. She didn't get to school and failed. And that's like where everything happened. And in the present, Twilight and Spike saw what happens, because Ponyville was not as fun as it looks. And even her castle was no longer there. And then the whole town was like deserted, and nobody came out of their houses. And even Shiryu Corner is no Shiryu Corner at all. It was like a place of bread. And even like she sees Applejack, but her farm was a factory. And she doesn't know nor Twilight and her friends, except for Rarity. But she did say about Rarity moved to Manhattan, all about the cause. And that's where the alternate world of King Sombra, and that's like where everybody has to work day and night from all the cause. And even like Rainbow Dash, Maud, and Peaky were soldiers to protect from all those battles and everything. It was kind of crazy. And then Twilight's trying to stop Starlight again. Then they went to a different one, and this is where the invasion of Queen Chrysalis, and that's how they became as hunters to stop Chrysalis. And even finally, I seen was like another alternate one. This is where Nightmare Moon taking over Equestria and banished Celestia to the moon. And after so many fights, the only thing is like Twilight showed Starlight how it is in the future when there was nothing. But Starlight told the truth, the reason why she was doing it, because ever since she had a good childhood with Sunburst, and then after Sunburst has Cutie Mark, he went to the school for gifted unicorns. And she felt sad, and she always be betrayed, thinking like Cutie Marks take friends away. But that's not how it is. And even after Twilight told her all the situation, she finally reformed and understand what's going on and just move on. So that's how it is. I mean, you can't just because Cutie Marks don't take friendship. It's all about show who they really are. That's the most important thing. Everybody has to understand that. And now finally, the one show that that you guys already seen a lot of times is The Loud House. Now, this episode that I don't like, but it wasn't in my top 10 of my previous video. And this episode is called Time Trap. Now, if you guys want to know what happened in that episode, now, Twilight and Lincoln and his sisters really had enjoyed some good times. But even like one mistake that even got them in trouble was their parents' wedding gift of a vase. I mean, that's not even important about a vase. For one thing, they get punished. I mean, that's not even that big of a deal. And even like the one thing they try and do, they just didn't want to get punished. So Lisa used Vanzilla as a time machine. Like most of you guys always seen how a cars can use it as a time machine. Went back in time of the moment where Rita and Lynn Singer's wedding before they had the kids. And even like the one thing they messed up, the timeline. They ruined the wedding so badly, and they decided to go back to the present. But a lot of things have changed, because the only thing is like, now, if you don't remember, on one of the backgrounds of the Loud House, like the house, if you guys see in the beginning, they always have so much bikes, toys, and other stuff that everybody's enjoyed. But in the other version, there was nothing in there. It was just clean house. And even when they checked inside their house, everything was clean. Clean carpet, good furniture, but none of the rooms exist. And the one thing they did see is their parents, but they have a different version. I mean, the only thing is they don't have Vanzilla. They have like one of those expensive high-tech car. And even like Rita's hair has changed. And so has Lynn, because he didn't get bald or anything. And they even have good clothing. But they said about they never had kids. They didn't want to have kids at all. They just always wear protection so far. And even there was a lot of things going on in their town too, about their next door neighbor, Mr. Grouse. Now you guys know him. He is so grouchy and stuff. But even he feels like very motivated, and he never has any type of problems, because he never has any trouble with kids. He just always have fitness and everything. And even about like where flipping fuels, there was no flippies at all. The only thing is that Flip, it was no cheapskate at all. He always learned about calmness, responsibility, and even the whole store was full none other than organic and vegan products. That's how he wanted to do. It's just don't want to be fat or anything. He wants to take responsibility of his health. And even finally, the one that I don't like is like if Lincoln wasn't there, then Chandler takes his friends and then they all make bad things. And that's like where if they don't fix time, they won't be in existence. So the only thing they had to do is go back to where they had to come back to the moment they had to fix the wedding. And even like Zach's parents, who always believe in aliens and all other type of imagination, they were getting to the Loud House. And that's like where Lily saved the wedding and everything went back to normal. And even like I just didn't like that episode. Well, there you have you guys. 5 episodes and why altering timeline is wrong. So that's it for today's video, guys. If you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you miss any videos, click on the notification bell and give me a thumbs up if you love this video. And you can comment down below if you guys want to see some new videos. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.